4-ton system, and we're actually doing a big job here. Peter and Mike are working on installing 2 ductless units, and I'm going to pump this condenser down because we're going to be swapping out the air handler with a new one. The old one is, I think, a cracked condensate pan. It's gross, so it should go smooth. So I just got my S-Mans hooked up, and I purged my hoses, and I purged the manifold through here, out the vacuum port. That way I can pump down, and I'll open both the high and the low side, so that the low side is pulling also from this high side with that service valve shut. That way we pump it all into the condenser, because it's a tight system. We don't need to pull all the refrigerant out and put it back in. That's pointless. So you can see I ended up having to hook up my recovery. It looks like it wasn't able to pull down about a pound, a little bit less. So we got all the rest of it pulled into the condenser except for that. Once that's done recovering, I'll go up in the attic and start disassembling the air handler. And you can hear it beeping at me. We pulled into a vacuum, so we know all the refrigerant's out. Now I closed off my hose, and I can put the machine into self-purge, press start, and let it pump any of that refrigerant that's in here into the tank. And we actually got like an extra 2 ounces out of that, so onto the air handler. Okay, so we're now working on this unit. They've abandoned this one and replaced it with ductless. But here's the unit that we'll be working on. And first things first is disconnecting electric and thermostat and all those things. So not gonna have any fan up here, which is gonna stink, but it is what it is. It's tough to get this duct attached. They screwed every like 2 inches the whole way around, top, sides, and bottom. And this super sticky duct tape around the whole inside, which is annoying. I mean, yeah, it seals it, but you could do that from the outside so that it could be undone. Now the return. Okay, so I got my brazing rig up here because I'm gonna unsweat those soldered connections, and we'll be brazing them afterwards. Also brought my Milwaukee shop vac so that I can vacuum the water out of that emergency pan because it is filled with water. Okay, so I got my piping disconnected, my tubing, and I did clean off the solder as well as possible because I will be brazing. And now we're just gonna pull the coil out, get that out of here, and have Peter help me with the air handler. Okay, I got Peter up here working on taking the fan apart. He just handed me the coil. I'm gonna get this down, and then we'll get the unit out of here. There is our old unit, and here's the new one. I have to flip this coil so that our drain's over here. It's a direct replacement. It's not the same exact model, but we needed a 115 volts because we couldn't get 240 up in the attic. So this is the one we're working with. Okay, I pulled the coil and we got it up here. Now, Peter got the emergency drain pan in place. May have to do some leveling, but we're gonna try to get the new unit up here now. It's not light, but it's not super heavy either. It's a 4-ton. Okay, he's running to grab the impact, but we got it up. And we have to move these brackets here on either side to the center of the unit, because that catches on the coil, catches the drain pan. Let's see, right there catches, and this metal bar it catches, so should be okay. Okay, so we got our coil flipped over. Look here, there's burning marks, like somebody burnt it when they were doing something, which that's odd. You know, you'd think that there'd be a little bit better quality control, but we got the coil flipped and in place, and now we're gonna get our cover panels on. Peter's grabbing the rest of the stuff we're gonna need, and then we can set it in place and get it nice and level. Okay, so we're in place, we're nice and level, and our pan overlaps the unit on both sides. That way There's no issues if it were to leak. It'll drain into the emergency pan. But we're gonna get started hooking everything up. I'm gonna start with electric and then we'll hook up the supply. And for those of you who don't believe, here is our nitrogen. Our regulator is on. I'll show you what it looks like when it's off. It's on for braze. I like to keep it right in the middle so it's not too much pressure. Going in the yellow hose to the manifolds, through the red, and then it can come out through the blue. So we are purging with nitrogen. Okay, briefly just shutting off the fan. I got these all brazed in with wet rag and we're purging nitrogen outside using that Gentech rig that I reviewed the other week. All the brazes look okay and we'll let them cool off and then we'll pressure test and we could finish hooking up the rest of the unit, like the power wires, not the power wires, the thermostat control wires, our condenser, and our thermostat, which is a smart thermostat. But the rest is straightforward and simple. Okay, so I pressure tested and I also purged heavily with nitrogen just to push any moisture, contaminants, or anything out. I hooked up my vacuum, my hoses, pulled the schraders, and hooked up the micron gauge. Once that gets to around 1500, I'll close it off, or I'll close off the gas ballast, and then see how low we can pull. So you can see we're reading in 13s now, but as soon as you close it off, that number does jump up because now it's the farthest point from the vacuum. But close the gas ballast here and we'll keep letting it pull down. Okay, so I got the bulb on there with the clamp. Nice and secure, the proper angle that they want, and then I used some zip ties to really secure that insulation on there good. So that's wrapped really nice and tight. And I'll see how the vacuum is doing. Our ductwork is hooked up. I piped in the primary condensate drain for now. I'm going to do the emergency, but the primary has a Diversitech float switch in line, as well as a float switch on our emergency pan. So we'll wire those both in. And wow, we pulled down to 77 microns so far, so that's really good. We'll do our decay test and maybe see if we could pull even deeper than that, but 77, that's a really good number. Okay, so I have my app hooked up, and as soon as I close this, the number's going to change drastically. You can see it spiked up, but it'll go back down and then it's slowly going to climb. And how quickly it climbs is whether or not we'll pass our decay test. So right now, we're at pretty solid numbers. So I'll click Start Decay Test. And I'll turn the vacuum pump off. Not that it matters because it's isolated. But we'll see how our decay test goes. That's really nice. There's definitely no leaks in the system if we're pulling this low on the vacuum. So we can finish and save. We could dismiss. And since I have the charge in the condenser, I can open up our liquid line. Ooh, oh man. Wow, it's like stripped out. Get this really deep in there. Yeah, we're... Let me try my deeper one. That's odd. This should go in there a little bit deeper. Let's see. Yeah, that's in there nice and deeply, so. There we go. And then we wanna pull our vacuum gauge off so that we don't ruin it with the high pressure and with the oil coming in. So I'll turn that off and we can get everything put away, open up or put our schraders in. I always put a cap on the gauge just to keep it protected. I did recently calibrate it, clean it out with nitrogen, freeze it, thaw it out. It's a whole process. Or clean it out with alcohol, not nitrogen. But now I can get rid of all this. Okay, we just still got to get some insulation on that suction line, but we're all hooked up. All our wiring is connected. Both of our switches are breaking Y. Our condensate and our emergency is piped in. We just have to throw the return back on. UV lights plugged in and on, so we should be good to go. Okay, so we're running now, and I'm putting in that little bit of refrigerant that I had to recover, but so far, so good. Okay, so we finished up with that. Mike got the ductless done, I got the air handler done, and now I'm heading on to a call, AC blowing warm, and I think it's a new customer. Yeah, they haven't used us yet. So I'm heading on to that one. It is 1:12, and I got to this job at around 8:15 this morning, so decent enough time. Yeah, we'll see if I get anything to record on this next one. Okay, so I just took a look at everything. I ran inside, turned system on, checked the amp draw on the blower, which was very good. Felt like it was pulling nice and strong. The customer called originally saying that his unit had very poor airflow. So we turned the unit off yesterday. It's been off for 24 hours. Mike told him to turn it off. And I'm here today. There's water everywhere. So I was like, okay, this thing's freezing. If there's water everywhere, it doesn't have airflow. So I just discussed everything with him. And what I'm doing is getting out the 410 and the sealant. That's the route that he wants to take. And it's the route that I like. Adding the sealant with the dye, because the dye really helps us find the leaks. You could have your opinions for or against it, but I like it a lot. Mike likes it a lot. We have really good experience with it. So get that ready, and I'll show you the unit. Okay, so here are our pressures. You can see we're getting fairly close to freezing. Low subcooling, high superheat. That superheat makes me think that there's probably no airflow issues, and the subcooling undercharged. So I have everything purged out already. We'll zero out our scale, and we'll start slowly adding. I'm gonna go right off with a pound, because that subcooling is real low. And you can already hear, getting refrigerant, the compressor is much quieter, so we'll see what we end up charging out in. Okay, so our design is 10 degrees of subcooling, and this is where we're at so far. I'd like to see the superheat go up a little bit more, so there's no liquid refrigerant making its way back to the compressor. But yeah, it seems to be going up. I did just add it, so it's gonna move around a lot. We are getting close to our 10 degrees with 1 pound and 9.5 ounces, so oh yeah, our superheat's coming up a lot. So we'll let this run for a little bit, make sure the pressures stay nice and stable, probably add a little bit more, and let's see. We do have a fur coat, so I would like to see if maybe he wants to. Oh, it's not really too bad, actually. Actually, yeah, there's no fur coat, but still, I'm sure the system hasn't been maintained. I would always like to clean the coil coming up on a new system. Oh yeah, so we're getting close to our 10. So looks like we could end up pretty good there. Maybe add a touch. No, we'll probably leave it there. And using the high side pressure, I pushed the sealant in. You can see, actually, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but there is some liquid refrigerant bouncing around in there. That's gonna get pulled in on the suction line. And I'm gonna go take a look at the condensate line inside, maybe cleaning that out and treating the pan. Oh, I missed my turn, but system's cooling well. 22 degree delta T. I would like that to be actually lower, but the system does have a very small return opening. It's a 5-ton system, and it has like a 8 by, I don't know, 20 return opening, so it's pretty small, I think, for the unit. But it's cooling. He's happy. Actually very happy. He's had other AC guys there and he wasn't happy with what they did, and he's very happy with what I did, and he tipped me generously. So, but I'm finished up for the day. Just gonna check to see if we have something at the shop. If not, I'm gonna pick it up for a job that's tomorrow, I believe. But hopefully you enjoyed watching the video. Like it if you liked it. Comment any advice, criticisms, or feedback, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.